Director's Take, retrospective from BlizzCon 2023. A little event happened 2 weeks ago, and I was lucky enough to be a part of it. And all of you were too. BlizzCon isn't just for those who attend the show in person. It's also a time when we get to connect with fans around the world and show off more of the game than we normally do. And this year, we even ran an event in-game with a playable version of our just announced hero, Mauga. Also, BlizzCon was awesome. Just to build on that for a second, BlizzCon was a ton of fun. I had an absolute blast. I'd like to run through the show. This is partially a recap, a correction to misunderstandings around announcements we made, and a bit of a sentimental journey. If you're not into that and just want the deets on Mauga, skip to paragraph 3. Don't worry, I won't mind. Let's start with Clash. We announced our next new game mode, as well as one of the maps. Is it like Hanoka? I didn't hear that. I forgot the pronunciation of that, but basically the Hanamura map, or Hanaoka? Is it Hanaoka? Well, to be a part of its debut. Hanaoka? Yeah, okay, that makes sense, like Hanamura, Hanaoka. Well, to be a part of its debut. Watching through some of the videos that people made off of our introduction to the mode, it was clear that I talked way too long about 2CP. But it also felt like there was some confusion over match length. This has been one of the most difficult parts of the mode to solve. Traditionally, 5CP game modes had edge cases where there was never a clear winner. Some games used a phase. Is there like a line right there? Or am I just... Okay. Used a phased, like sudden death, in order to rein in the game's length. We don't want to have matches that can go this long, so we've been experimenting with a scoring system, which we alluded to at BlizzCon, as well as an alternate where the match ends after a set amount of time, with the winner being decided by whoever is controlling more points on the map. We're still iterating here, but our goal is to have a game mode that moves back and forth across the map and also enforces a clear time limit. I actually talked about this a little bit. When I was watching the stuff back for BlizzCon, I actually was talking about this, where I was like, I wasn't quite sure what the limit or how long the game would go for. So, but yeah, I was curious on that one. Okay, let's talk Mauga. This hero is so cool. I agree. We heard so much love for his art, his over-the-top personality, and his gameplay kit. After the trial, we also heard feedback that he felt pretty weak. Our stats show him a bit on the average to weak side, which we talked about that. I did not feel like the hero was on the safe side of strong yet, with him underperforming even more at higher skill tiers, which that is like an issue that kind of happens in general right now, because most supports are able to kind of shut down a tank based off of just sleeping them, cleansing, even with Sombra hacking the tank, right? So we would like Mauga to feel strong at launch. So we'll be implementing a set of changes to his tuning at the start of Season 8. All right? The goal will be to increase his survivability, which is key, make his damage against smaller targets a little bit more reliable, and reduce his damage output versus larger characters, like tanks. We're still a few weeks away from launch, so it's not that useful for me to go over exact numbers, but here are the changes we're looking at so far. And I knew there'd be buffs. I talked about it. I felt like it was just not on that safe side of strong yet that they're aiming for now with new heroes in general. And we can see that. Replace a chunk of his health with armor. We're experimenting with 150 eternally. Oh, that'll be interesting. I mean, like, armor can certainly help. But this still brings up the issue where you just get slapped. So armor just hacks you, and you just get rolled. Like, it's we'll see. Reduce, and apparently they're experimenting with 150 internally, so it'll be interesting. I mean, like, I still get shredded on Diva, but I like I was gonna say, I do like armor is a good idea on that one. So I think that would help survivability for sure. I can agree with that one. Reduce the side of his head's hit volume. Yeah, that's good. That will help reduce some of the critical damage. Increase the damage reduction on Overrun. Originally, it was at 30%. We're testing it at 50%. Also, this can no longer be interrupted by hack. Okay, that's a lot more interesting now. Okay, that's going to make That's good. Because you can just overrun in at 50% damage reduction and you can't be interrupted by hack. That's going to be pretty good. Increase the lifesteal of Cardiac Overdrive. I mean, anytime you increase lifesteal, I'm just curious to see where the alt charge will end up with all this stuff. There are quite a few changes in flight for his weapons. We're testing different spreads and firing rates when using both guns simultaneously, as well as different damage, ammo, and fall-off numbers. We'll have more details on those as they solidify. So I don't know where they're going to go with this, but it's probably going to be... It sounds like it'll be pretty good. They'll probably... I don't know what they'll do, but I'm down for that. But this is what I like. This is why it was cool they did that, like, Mauga... kind of like test play where you were able to like try out the hero and have some fun with that. And the reason why I like that is because they get to make changes before the hero goes live. Imagine if Mauga went live in the version that we just played. It would have been like Lifeweaver, right? Where Lifeweaver was just like, you couldn't even do anything. So they've had time to really kind of get the hero where they want and make the hero more fun when the hero's actually in the game. So, yeah, or like Ramatra. Ramatra didn't even have speed boost with Nemesis form. Ramatra was released and you didn't have speed boost in Nemesis form. You just got you just were slow in Nemesis form and did nothing. Okay. The Mauga event was the first time we released a hero as a trial. We think it was successful for a lot of reasons. We got a lot of great feedback from players. I agree. Good data on the hero. I agree. And have enough time in advance to make a serious set of changes, as well as a really fun event for the game. I agree. We think that this could be a great template going forward, not only for heroes, but possibly for some of our other larger pieces of content. I agree. I actually like the idea behind that, right? I think they'll probably look at stats, like, you know, if they do something like this in general, how will that hero feel? You know, are players not logging in to play the new season if they've already tried the new hero prior, right? Like, I think that's probably one thing they're going to look at. I mean, I think they should have the hero do this, right? So you can like, test out the hero, play the hero, but I'm sure they're going to look at the stats and be like, okay, did more people log on for Season 8 when the hero went out? Should we, you know what I mean? Like, there's probably some things there that they're going to look into, but I think they should, obviously. Like, I like the idea of that, and I think, like, this is proof of that. I mean, you now have, right here, you have a whole paragraph of changes that may not have happened because they didn't do that event, right? So, I like that. During BlizzCon, we talked about our clarity of vision for the future of Overwatch. Did you feel that downshift? Heads up. That's this piece getting a little more philosophical before it gets a little more sentimental. Overwatch is an intense and competitive multiplayer shooter. We have millions of players in our game every day enjoying it. Well, yeah. And we'd like to not just provide more of that experience to them, but also improve it. When I use the term competitive, I don't just mean playing ranked. Even quick play is demanding and sweaty. Yes. I have said this before. Quick play is sometimes harder than ranked. I get counter swapped in quick play more than I do in ranked. Quick play is not... It's very rare I go into a quick play game. So, that intensity and fast pace are inherent to most modes in our game, and we love that. At BlizzCon, we talked about an overhaul to our competitive system coming in Season 9 with other updates, such as wider grouping restrictions coming in subsequent seasons. Which I'm looking forward to this. I think this right here, this season right here, if they can do this right, in my opinion, is huge for Overwatch. If they can do this right, people will be excited to play the game or try the game again, because ranked has been an issue since Season 1, and people always have wanted a rank system they can enjoy, right? Games that have like a rank system that is both fun to play, but also you have a good feedback loop with, people enjoy that. So this is a very important season for Overwatch, because if they can do this right, I'm sure you will see people try to play Overwatch again, because a good rank system or a system that gives you better feedback is something the game has needed since the beginning of Season 1 of Overwatch 2. Straight up. We're in Season 7. This is going to be February. We are also working on updates to improve the experience in other parts of the game. That's always good. For example, we're looking at ways of reducing the number of people leaving or sabotaging matches. I mean, this is the thing is with this is this can still be difficult because sometimes it will come down to someone didn't have enough time to play, or someone's computer crashes, or there's an issue with the server, or like, so I get that, right? But the next sentence, what I'm reading here, is actually good. Since the start of Season 7, the leaver rate in quick play is almost down 20% in some in some game modes. I love that because I don't know what game mode it is, but there's apparently a game mode where people are leaving because they didn't want to say in game modes. They said in some game modes. So I don't. That's the thing, is like there's gonna be different variations to that, but it's that's good, right? Like I see 20% and I go, that's good. I mean, levers are going to be an issue in a game regardless, but I think that's a good stat to see, right? We're also working on the way we backfill matches so that players no longer enter a game with a few seconds left. Are you kidding me? Now I'm not going to be able to... Additionally, I mean, that's good. That's a good change, though. Additionally, we're continually making improvements to our matchmaker, anti-toxicity, and anti-cheat efforts. I mean, this is all good, right? You want them to be... Like, I'm glad they're mentioning that, because it would be concerning if they're like, yeah, we're good. That's it. We're not... We're happy with where it's at, and that that is something they should always try to iterate on and improve on, right? Because it's a constant back and forth with that, right? So, like, it's good they're making those improvements, because if they weren't, that'd be an issue. We're also excited about running some experiments aimed at making the game more enjoyable to play. I mean, that's... yeah, I mean, that'd be... Yeah, that's good, yeah. I think that's I like that. I agree with that. For instance, what would happen if spawn times were drastically reduced? Huh. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Are we talking about, like... I don't know. Look at those to start in Season 8. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't... Unless they're referencing bringing... This could also be referencing bringing in the system they have in Quick Play to comp. Right? Maybe that's what they're talking about too? They haven't put that in the comp yet. But, yeah, I'm curious what that means. I'm curious to know what that means. So, we'll see. The defense will be even easier. It depends. Like I said, I don't know what that means. I'm curious, though. I'm intrigued. I want to see whether that is, right? I mean, chat, it could be as simple as like 2 seconds, right? They might be like, hey, 12 seconds to 10 seconds, or 10 seconds to 8 seconds, and they're just going to see what happens if you spawn up 2 seconds quicker, right? You know what I mean? Like, it could just mean that. I don't think they're going to be doing instant respawns. You know what I mean? I think it's more like, what happens if you can increase that, right? Like, I think that's more of what they're aiming for. So, but I don't know. You said 2 seconds isn't drastic, though? Oh, it can be. Absolutely. A 2 second difference? I mean, think about this. Think about the difference between overtime spawns and not overtime spawns. And that is when you can notice that type of difference. So, anyway. At BlizzCon, our big announcements focused on the core of our game. This isn't to say that we aren't working to bring fun and novel modes and events to all of you. For example, we announced Hero Mastery Gauntlet at the show, which is going to be cool. And we also celebrated our K-pop event during BlizzCon. We have so much more of this in the works, some centered around PvE, some centered around PvP, some around PvE, some both, and some that might be a little harder to categorize. So the reason why they're clarifying this is because it very much seemed during the BlizzCon announcement, they were kind of like, yeah, it's all PvP. I think this is because they still have some of like those hero missions and things like that, obviously. I mean, not obviously, but like I think they have that stuff, but they didn't really mention it during BlizzCon. So people are like, are they just kind of like moving away from all of that to begin with, since they have some of those still left over? That, you know, obviously there was going to be more past what we have played. So my guess is that they wanted to make sure this was put in the blog post because it wasn't really talked about at all during BlizzCon. We're excited for these modes and events, but didn't talk about them much. I mean, they just said that, yeah. I don't want any of you to get the wrong idea here. We are still committed to events like this, but we want these to be a surprise and delight moment for our players, which is fine. I'm okay with that. It's good to have, like, surprises in game that you don't even know are coming, right? Like, I think that's cool. I don't mind that. And that's fun, right? You have stuff you know that's coming, and you have stuff that, like, oh, I didn't expect that, right? Like, I don't think many people expected One Punch Man, you know? Or the K-pop collab. Like, that's cool, right? That's cool. One of the most emotionally satisfying parts of BlizzCon is talking to fans from around the world, which this part, I will say, being at BlizzCon, meeting a ton of people, being able to do what I did there at BlizzCon was unreal. It was surreal. It was an amazing just moment in general. And this is from the streamer point of view. This isn't even from like making the game. It was unreal. It was amazing. I absolutely love that part of it. A lot of you really love Overwatch as well as other Blizzard games. Yep. And we all gathered together in Anaheim to celebrate that passion. Talking to all of you and hearing your stories puts so much of what we do in perspective. It's easy to get lost in the details of game development or the partially anonymous feedback we get online. But listening to a story about how two people met in Overwatch, got married, and are now expecting their first child is a different thing altogether. That's awesome. That is awesome. Congrats to them. A mother who has never played our game flew in from Texas to bring her son to the convention. I love to hear that. I love that. I absolutely love that. That is something that, like, seeing things like that to me is always really, really cool. So I love like that idea of like, hey, may not know anything about the game, may not understand anything about the game, but understanding that like that's like probably a passion of her son's and really enjoys the game. So being able to go there and just like have that, you know what I mean? I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. So yeah. A couple who bonded through Overwatch got engaged at BlizzCon. Heck yeah, love to hear it. This show left me and so many others in the Overwatch team recharged, re-energized, and ready to dive back into the game and the universe that we love. And I think this is this is right here. This whole sentence here is a very underrated thing about BlizzCon. And it can be on the streamer side of things, and it can be on the streamer side of things. It can be on the game development side of things, etc. Like, when you go to an event like that, it kind of puts everything kind of into like a picture of like, wow, this is like super surreal. This is unreal. And it can really re-energize and recharge because you're just like, it puts things into perspective, right? You see like, you know, they'll be there at BlizzCon as developers and they'll see like this massive crowd who's excited, cheering for like new things that come, things that they already love. And that is like a big part of that. And that's what can be really underrated for like BlizzCon, is because it allows people to be like, oh, this is really cool. This is what we do. This is why we do it. It's super awesome. You know what I mean? So I think that can be, yeah. You know what I mean? So it is a little ironic, but to me, it makes total sense that a show where we felt the love of our community is also the same show that reminded me of why I make games in the first place, which, yeah, it makes sense. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I can only hope that the energy and passion that we put into our game can be enough of a thank you. Thanks for reading, and we'll see you in game. That was great. Yeah, it was a good time. That was a good time. I agree. That was a good blog post. All right, let me reopen my game now. That was a good blog post, chat. I like that one, you know?